So again, that is something that I wish I had a quick seal to show you the components. All your pumps are going to have these seals. So everyone's going to be already installed in every single one of your Fairbanks Morse pumps is going to be this exact same seal. So if you have any questions or concerns, I'll be more than happy to talk to you guys more involved in the pumps themselves, the seals themselves. Because again, with this many pumps that you have here, you will be dealing with mechanical seals over the next couple of years. Like I said, some seals you'll probably have issues with where we'll have to get them changed out. Some will be warranty, some may not be warranty, and there'll be a full spectrum of mechanical seals. Most of these seals will give you, 5-7 years of life, basically maintenance-free, trouble-free. Some of them, again, may have a little more issues. Mechanical seals, especially split seals, are 1 out of 10 might be a nuisance. Seeing how the fact that you guys have 15, 17 pumps here, you may have 1 or 2 of them that may become a nuisance that we might have to come back, get involved with, and address. However, I'm not, like I said, it's most of these seals do last pretty well. And if there's going to be a problem, we usually find out in the first couple of weeks from operating and running and things like that, as far as what type of, how everything went together and how the actual faces mated together on the cracks. If they mate together perfectly on the cracks, you usually have a long 5 to 7 years, no headaches, nothing. If for some reason when they were broken, pieces just didn't line up properly, getting back in place, you may have more of a problem as far as dripping and all that type of stuff. So that's something, again, we'll find out in the future. I don't have an answer for right now on each one and how they're going to respond. There's a lot more seal information in here. I did want to give you guys everything because again, if you do start having problems, the more information you have is going to help me a long way trying to talk to you guys over the phone and find out more information. Most likely, like I said, if you start having seal problems in the first 2-3 months of operation, it's something that is going to be a warranty type situation where myself or one of my technicians will be out here to address it, and you guys shouldn't have to get involved at all. Just pick up the phone, call Fairbanks, call myself, call one of us and let us know that there's some issues that you think might need to be looked at as far as out here as this mechanical seals go. The other information I did include after the seal section is on the fault couplings. Again, I don't know if that's something that you guys are familiar with. This is a very standard pump coupling that's supplied with Fairbanks Morse pumps and many other pumps out in the industry. It is a gear type coupling with a grid, which is considered basically a metal to metal coupling. The downside of this, there are no elastomer rubber parts that can allow for misalignment. So the alignments on these have to be pretty precise. Now again, on this pump, it's all registered fits. The motor fits into a registered slot on the bracket fits in a registered slot on the pump. So everything, if the registers are all clean and assembled, it's pretty much assured true alignment within coupling and pump manufacturer specifications. If there is a problem, that's something that we should be picking up upon installation, inspection, and startup, as far as noting any type of problems that may occur with the coupling alignments. Again, that's something we haven't gone through yet, but once we do that, we'll find out what type, how true everything all is and where we stand on that. The grease that you should be using is going to be the long-term grease, which is a Falk LTG grease. It's a 5-year guaranteed grease, which basically means you pack it up properly to the specific amount inside the coupling, and you should not have to worry about that coupling for 5 years. That is something, like I said, it's actually a good thing and it's a bad thing, because these pumps operating as designed in this type of application, you could be running 5, 10, 15 years without ever having to pop that motor off and separate this coupling, which means you could have a lot of 5 years down the line, it gets to the point, if you have a yearly maintenance program, well, every spring, during a certain shutdown period, you know, take the couplings off, grease them all up, repack them and clean them and put everything back together again. Again, with a 5-year grease, it's kind of a downside because now it's every 5 years. Well, time seems to confuse people as far as, you know, sometimes 3 years seems like 1 year and sometimes 1 year seems like 5 years. So it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where the 5 years are as far as repacking and cleaning the coupling greases inside there. If you had a standard seal in it, I would say it's not a problem because every 5 years you're probably going to be going through a mechanical seal. So when you pull this pump apart to change out a mechanical seal, it's a good time to, you know, clean up the coupling and repack it with fresh grease. However, I'd still probably recommend that even with a split mechanical seal. If you take a seal apart, it's probably a good time to take the coupling apart and just check on the grease inside there. Make sure the grease still looks tacky. What'll happen over a period of time, it's the Falk LTG grease is a long-term grease. It's not your typical NLGI 1 or 2 grease. It almost looks like molasses. It's a very, very tacky grease compound, which is almost, you get it on you and it gets everywhere because it doesn't want to come off you. And it needs to stay tacky. So after 3 to 5 years, it'll start losing its tackiness and becomes more of like a clay. You know, it's more of a harder compound, which now loses its lubricity, and now again it'll start wearing the coupling parts as far as your coupling hubs, the grids, and all that type of stuff. So again, if you use standard grease every year, you know, once a year, take it apart, change it, clean out the grease, get the old grease out, put the new grease in. If you use the LTG grease, which they should be using, again, I haven't gone through the complete installation, so I can't tell you exactly what they're using, but the LTG grease is usually supplied with the couplings, and that's what's recommended be installed. If you guys do change out the grease in the future, I strongly recommend putting back the LTG grease. Again, it's something that you probably are going to have to, you know, request to your bosses to get this type of stuff, where they're probably going to come back and say, what do you mean? We got cases of grease, just use that stuff. Again, the LTG grease is a much viscous grease, which is made for shearing. As this pump runs and you get a shearing effect in the coupling, that grease is made for shearing. Regular ball bearing grease is not made for shearing. It's made for rolling. It's not made for shearing. What will happen is the grease will break down rather quickly. And I'd say every year you want to completely change out that grease. Take it apart, clean it up, pack it with fresh grease, and make sure that if it's regular grease that's in it, at least once a year you go through and clean up the grease, because it's not going to stand for long term. The next things I do want to quickly go over is the motor information. I did include a lot of motor test information because I did have that stuff available, so I threw it in here. But again, I'm not going to spend much time going through all the motor information. That these motors were tested at the factory to make sure, you know, most of the problems and bugs have been worked out of there. So all that stuff was available to me, so I did include all that test information in there just to make sure that there was no problems. As far as the installation and maintenance on it's page 17 of the Emerson section, on the motor section, page 17, does have, again, a little breakdown on the actual, the motor specifications, as far as now how often do they recommend changing or flushing the grease in the motors, adding grease and all that type of stuff. So again, this stuff all has this information in there. With how much grease is in there, and whether if it's grease or oil capacity, and yours are, I do believe, all grease. So all that information is in there. The next thing, we're pretty much all done with most of this stuff. If for some reason these pumps are shut down and you're not, I believe all these pumps are going to be fully operational. You're not going to have any pumps sitting as spares, standbys, or anything like that. I do believe all these pumps that were supplied are being installed and going to be set up as operational pumps. So again, I did include a section in here for storage. If these, everything is sitting in storage and it's not going to be run, to make sure that we follow these type of procedures. But I didn't think, I think everything is being accounted for that we sold and supplied. But that is pretty much it. Other than the fact, like I said, this is a vertical pump. Everything's registered, fit, put together. As far as the maintenance goes, it's going to be the inspection covers. Is there anyone not familiar with how to clean out a pump, or if you had to pull it apart to inspect, and the inspection covers on the bottom? It's not the easiest thing to do. Depending on the size of the pump, the easier it actually gets, because now you can get up there and actually get a hold of things and pull it out. Some of the smaller pumps get a little more complicated. All your RAS pumps are 12-inch pumps, so again, they're good enough size pumps that maintenance shouldn't be too much of an issue. As far as periodic maintenance goes, the pump itself does have your wear clearances in it. How fast that wears is really going to depend on, do you have a lot of stringy fibers that get caught up in the impeller that cause a little binding effect that will, you can usually notice that because your amperage starts, drawing up. Where you got to take it apart and kind of clean out any binding stuff that goes on. Do you get a lot of sand, debris, and things like that in there? If you do get that type of stuff, your clearances will have to be adjusted periodically. And again, in the maintenance section of this, it does tell you how to adjust your clearances. It's not a it's not a very complicated technique, but again, it's something that if you get a lot of wearing going on, it is a procedure in here. I could probably show you exactly what page that is on. It's not very complicated. It's something that you will have to probably do periodically. However, if you don't have a lot of wearing solids, I've had pumps out there that have been out there for 25 years. They've never adjusted the clearances. I've gone out there and the clearances are within 10,000, so what was originally set out as the factory. So again, after 25 years, it's virtually still brand new. Adjustments need to be made, but it's very minimal adjustments. So again, it's something that is not something that's going to have to be done a lot. So again, that's the only other question I have on that. Yeah.
On the impeller clearance issue.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at page 26 and 27. That's where they talk about impeller adjustment and clearance.
Yep.
First problem I see is they don't tell you what the clearance is supposed to be and at what point do you make an adjustment or replace the wear rings. Gives a nice little picture to say where that impeller clearance is, but nothing that says how much it's supposed to be. Now, in looking further, I go 2 tabs back in the submittal, which I don't think is in the handouts here.
Yep.
And there's a technical data page that gives nominal wear ring clearance of 37 thousandths. Okay, so we've now got what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Well, what's too much? What's not enough? What's the range?
The range is going to be, the tighter the clearance, the more efficient your pump. The greater the clearance, the less efficient the pump is going to be. There is no absolute pinpoint answer to exactly where it's going to be. Every system operation has got a different range of where's the line between efficiency and a maintenance headache. If you get it too tight, if you get a lot of sand, debris, and material in there that can do a lot of wearing, it accelerates the wearing. So now you're going to be wearing your pump, you're going to be making adjustments on a yearly case. You're going to be getting into a point where you're going to have to be changing out the impeller quite frequently. If you exceed your clearances excessively, 37 again is going to be, that would be a maximum that you want to be. If you exceed that, again, what's going to happen now is your efficiency is going to drop significantly as far as the water recirculation internally within the pump. So again, you're going to be starting to drop your efficiency significantly. There is a fine line, and again, it's more of a trial and error depending on each facility. I usually start around 20 thousandths is where I'll start, set my clearances and gauge it from there. If you start having binding problems, where a lot of debris, stringy debris, fiber matter gets in there, I'll start increasing the clearances to try to keep that stuff from getting, starting to get caught in there and start binding and galling up. Anything smaller than that, you start getting, wear debris from sand and anything that, of an abrasive matter that can get into the pump. So there's a fine line in between exactly where it's going to be. Between 20 and 37 is probably going to be where you're going to want to keep your range. The 37 number is going to probably give you a lot less efficient pump. However, depending on, as you're running in a trial and error on these pumps, you're probably going to want to, if you're not having any problems with it, try tightening it up a little bit. If you do your yearly shutdown and to adjust the clearances, bring it down to 30,000. See where that goes. Again, like I said, the tighter the clearances, the more efficient your pump is. The more open your clearances are, the less efficient your pump is. There is no right or wrong answer. There isn't one that's going to cause harm to the pump. It's the only thing that's going to cause harm is this product that getting in there that can cause problems. Abrasive matter will wear your impeller and wear ring, and fibrous matter can start causing galling and binding and basically locking up your pump to the point where the amperage start going high, and you could be tripping out the pump and causing a headache as far as pulling everything apart and removing all the fibrous matter from there. Sorry about that.
Another one, still with the impeller adjustment.
Yes.
On page 27,
Yep.
C, it says adjust the shim pack 186A
Yep.
thickness to achieve the correct impeller clearance. Now, on the drawing, there's no 186 or 186A. I realize this is not your problem, this is a Fairbanks-Morse problem, but it's a problem.
Yes, it is.
So if you could pass that on to the proper folk and get that sorted out, that would be good.
I certainly will. As a matter of fact, I apologize because I have never run into that before. So again, like I said, I don't know if that's a change or if that's just something in this specific manual that was never caught before, but that's absolutely, yes,